I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V. I am absolutely wiped out today because over the last couple of weeks I've done a lot of things that are out of my comfort zone, done a lot of travelling, I've done a lot of social stuff, and I have also stayed up past my bedtime at least one time, and so now I'm suffering for it. So we're going to have a nice, quiet, cosy vlog today, and I'm going to read from one of my books for you. I'm reading from Once Upon a Twisted Fairy Tale because somebody asked me what I meant by twisted fairy tales. So this is a story that is not overly gory, but is definitely not for children, and this is my version of The Elves and The Shoemaker. You don't displease Mr. Elf. I make the finest shoes in the city. Everyone knows that. Maybe even the best in the country. Every pair made to order, hand-stitched by me and the wife. And the fine gentlemen in waste management like their quality goods, so they started coming to me. And you don't charge the people who work in waste management full price, particularly not Mr. Elf himself. Not if you're attached to all your fingers, at any rate. So I'd gotten a little bit behind with the rent. Not too far behind, you know, but I'd been very busy with Mr. Elf's shoes and those of his sons, and hadn't had time for paying customers for a month or so. You know what it's like. The landlord sent bailiffs round. Can you believe that? I always find his money in the end. There was no need for it. But he just so happened to send the bailiff round when Mr. Elf had come to pick up his new shoes. I was so embarrassed. I tried to keep the conversation quiet, get the bailiff out as quick as I could so that I didn't keep Mr. Elf waiting. Mr. Elf does not like to be kept waiting. Look, just tell Tony I'll have his money next week, I hissed. Tony says it's full cash now or you're out on the street. Mr. Elf stood up slowly. His energy filled the room. He was much shorter than the bailiff, but he seemed to loom over the huge man. He looked pointedly at the bailiff and then jerked his head towards the door. Yes, sir, Mr. Elf, the bailiff stuttered, scuttling out of my tiny shop. After all, it's a very bad idea to displease Mr. Elf. You make the finest, most luxurious shoes in this part of the world, Mr. Taylor, he said. How is it that you can't make your rent? I swallowed hard. I couldn't say it was because he never paid. I mean, he must know, right? I only use the finest materials, sir. The leather's very expensive, I stammered. And of course I don't usually take payment until after the shoes are made. Mr. Elf chewed thoughtfully on his cigar. You live above the shop, don't you? He said. I nodded. Had I displeased Mr. Elf? I tried not to tremble too visibly. My boys will be in touch. I think we can come to a mutually beneficial arrangement. I didn't hear them come in. I'm not even sure how they got in. The window wasn't broken, the door wasn't forced, the alarm didn't go off. But in the morning, when I went into my workshop, there were stacks and stacks of beautiful soft leather. On top of the nearest neatly folded pile, there was a note. Mr. Taylor, in gratitude of your service as Mr. Elf's favourite shoemaker, please accept this gift of leather for your shoes. We trust you and your wife are well. You might think I'd be pleased at this. After all, good quality leather is expensive, and this really was the softest I'd ever felt. But this was so much worse than being in debt to Tony the landlord. Now I was in debt to Mr. Elf, and he knew where I lived, and what my wife looked like. The leather was soft, hard to work with. It was that delicate, but so soft and supple. And there was so much of it. I enlisted the wife to help with the cutting, and soon we had slippers and dancing shoes and even little baby booties using the scrap. They weren't made to order, but the materials were such fine quality I could still charge a premium price. By the time the bailiff dared show his face again, I had enough to pay him off and give Tony the next 3 months' rent too, to keep him off my back. I bought the wife a nice dress and a fox fur coat and took her out for a slap-up meal, no expense spared. Doesn't hurt to get in the good books, does it? What I didn't expect was to see Mr. Elf there. Not just Mr. Elf either. The whole family, the elves, Razor Jack, Mickey the Brick, Tommy the Terror and Smiler Joe. Their women were all there too, even Mr. Elf's daughter. Mr. Elf was very protective of his daughter. Mr. Taylor, and your lovely wife too, Mr. Elf called. Please come join us. "Oh, we couldn't possibly intrude," the missus started to say, but he held up his hand and said, "I insist." So the waiter pulled our table over to join the elves because, well, it's a very bad idea to displease Mr. Elf. "Today we're celebrating a great honour," Mr. Elf said. "Please all raise a glass and join me in toasting the engagement of my beautiful daughter." I relaxed a little. I'd been worried the subject of payment was about to come up, but apparently he was just feeling generous because he was celebrating. "I must thank you for the leather you sent me," I said, after I'd had a few too many drinks. "It really is the best I've ever worked with." "You are doing me a favour, Mr. Taylor," he said. "It's a waste product of my business. Better for it to be used than for me to have to get rid of it." I tried not to think too hard about that. "Your daughter will make such a beautiful bride," my wife gushed. She'd obviously had a few too many as well. Her cheeks were flushed and her dress kept slipping off her shoulder, revealing her greying bra strap. "But of course she will," said Mr. Elf. "She'll be wearing her mother's dress, rest her soul. It was made by the great Mr. Stiltskin himself." "Oh, he's such an amazing designer," slurred the missus. "So talented." "It was said he was so skilled that he could spin straw into gold silk," Mr. Elf said. "Alas, he had an unfortunate accident last year. Such a tragedy." I took a swig of my drink and avoided eye contact. I'd heard Mr. Skiltskin had disappeared and no body had ever been recovered. "So I'll need a man of great talent to do the alterations on Camilla's dress. Someone who can make the most delicate and invisible of stitches." "Oh, do you have anyone in mind?" There was no way I could have stopped her or warned her, but I knew what was coming next. "Your husband, of course. There is no one more skilled." "Oh, Mr. Elf, I couldn't possibly," I said, but he cut me off. "Of course you can. There's no one I trust more with such an important task." "But, sir, I don't have any dressmaking experience at all." "You're beginning to offend me, Mr. Taylor," Mr. Elf said quietly. "Is making my daughter's wedding gown beneath you?" "No, of course not. It's just, I do you a favour, save your home and your business, invite you to dine with my family, invite you to the bosom of my home, and you can't do this small thing for me?" I suddenly felt very sober. "I just wouldn't want to ruin the dress, sir." "Then don't." And so, of course, I altered the dress. How could I not? You don't say no to Mr. Elf. I worked deep into the night most days, leaving the wife to get on with the shoemaking. The stitches on the dress had to be completely invisible, something I'm practised at least, but the materials were so different to what I'm used to working with. Silk and lace are lots more delicate than leather, even the soft, fine leather provided by Mr. Elf's boys. And there was absolutely no room to make mistakes. I was there in the small hours, cursing over the stitching, when the wife came to interrupt me for the umpteenth time. "There's a tattoo on this leather." "What?" "A tattoo on the leather that Mr. Elf gave us." "Don't be daft. It'll be a branding mark." "It's a heart with Mum written on it." My thread snapped. "Look, I haven't got time for this, okay? The wedding is in 3 days and she's put on a quarter of a stone since the last fitting. But, look, just cut out the tattoo, okay? I have to get this done. I can't disappoint Mr. Elf." We were invited to the wedding. The entire town was invited to the reception, but we were guests of honour at the ceremony itself. Mind you, it seemed like a lot of people were. All of Mr. Elf's various business associates were there, in addition to the whole family. The guests filled the rooftop of the Plaza Hotel, barely leaving room for the immense bouquets of white roses, ice sculptures, and rings of fairy lights, and huge pile of gifts. The wife and I squeezed in near the back and waited for the crowd to hush for the bride's big entrance. She did look stunning. Not just in a "she's one of the elves, you have to say she's stunning" way. She genuinely looked lovely. And you couldn't tell that I'd had to stuff her into the dress at all. Seemed like the girl only had to look at a piece of bread to gain an inch around her waist, and she hadn't let fitting into her dress dampen her appetite. As she stepped into the aisle, all the ladies sighed at how glowing and graceful she was. I risked a glance at Mr. Elf. He was smiling a small, tight smile, maybe even had a hint of a tear in his eye. He gave me a slight half nod, and I relaxed. I had done it. I had paid back Mr. Elf. We were square. I almost laughed with relief. I heard the strangled intake of breath from those behind the bride before I saw it. The tiny, barely there stitches were growing visibly larger, straining at the seams. She managed to reach the altar oblivious before they went completely. The dress split straight down the back. Everything happened at once. The bride stumbled as her shoe caught the hem of the dress. She lurched forward into the vicar, who was knocked back into the cake. He sat in it heavily, sending a tiny plastic bride and groom spinning over the side of the roof. One of the bridesmaids tried to help him up, but only succeeded in knocking over the huge swan-shaped ice sculpture, shattering it into a million lethal shards. The page boy slipped on the ice, grabbed at the wire to steady himself, and started a chain reaction of miniature explosions as the fairy lights were ripped down. Somehow in the commotion, the bride had hit her nose, covering the front of her delicate white gown in angry red blood. And through it all, Mr. Elf looked only at me. I've displeased Mr. Elf. It's a very bad idea to displease Mr. Elf. So I hope that you enjoyed me reading from Once Upon a Twisted Fairy Tale. That was one of my favourite stories, actually, my version of The Elves and The Shoemaker. And that is what I mean when I say that my twisted fairy tales are not exactly for children. If you enjoyed that, I do have other short story collections. I have got the Strange Stories series, which includes Strange Love, Strange Worlds, which I cannot find a copy of in my house, so here it is here, and Strange Times. I've also got a novella called The Tale of Two Princes, which is a kind of Men in Black version of both Sleeping Beauty and The Frog Prince. That was immense fun to write, and one of the side characters appears in one of my novels. If you enjoyed my short stories in general, I also have them on my Patreon. You can join up from just £1 a month, which is an absolute bargain. You get access to all of my back catalogue in there, and I'm adding new stories all the time. Or you can pay for just reading individual stories on there as well, if I have set it up correctly. Join me on Monday for my next vlog, where I'm hoping that I'm going to have a little bit more energy. But if you can't wait until then to see me again, I will be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I'm grateful for, sometimes letting you know what's challenging me that day, and on a day like today, I will be whinging that I'm tired. But I will also be here on a Witchy Wednesday, where I do an intuitive tarot card pull, and as always, you can book me for a private reading through my Ko-fi if you would like to. But until then, though, you have yourself a magical week.